The annual Wilson family reunion was always a parade of wealth and status, but this year they'd outdone themselves. The sprawling lawn of my Uncle Richard's mansion was dotted with luxury cars, Bentleys, Maseratis, and the latest Tesla models gleaming in the summer sun. And then there was my 10-year-old Honda, deliberately parked right in front of the main entrance. "Oh my God, Eleanor is still driving that thing," my cousin Amanda's voice carried across the lawn, her Gucci sunglasses pushed up into her perfectly highlighted hair. I thought she was joking when she pulled up in it last year. I stepped out of my car, smoothing down my simple black dress, a custom Chanel piece that cost more than Amanda's car, though she'd never recognized the subtle craftsmanship. To her, luxury meant obvious logos and flashy designs. "Eleanor." Uncle Richard boomed from the mansion's steps. "We were just discussing you. Still working at that. What was it again?" "Small regional bank," I supplied, hiding my amusement. If they'd bothered to read any financial news in the past 5 years, they'd know that small regional bank was now Wilson Financial Group, named after my grandmother, who'd secretly left me her banking empire while the rest of the family fought over her jewelry collection. Right, he nodded condescendingly. I could put in a word for you at Morgan Stanley. Get you a real banking job." My phone buzzed. Probably another update about the Wilson Financial Group's latest acquisition. We'd just bought 3 major banks in the Asia-Pacific region, bringing our total assets under management to over $500 billion. But Uncle Richard was too busy showing off his new Rolex to notice my small smile. "Thanks, but I'm happy where I am," I said, walking up the marble steps. Inside, the mansion was crowded with relatives competing to showcase their success. Cousin Bradley was holding court near the champagne fountain, bragging about his real estate empire. "Just closed on another luxury development," he announced to anyone within earshot. "You should see my new penthouse office." What Bradley didn't know was that his empire was built on loans from my bank loans that were coming up for review next week. His latest financial statements had raised several red flags in our risk assessment department. "Eleanor." My cousin Victoria air-kissed my cheeks, her diamond bracelet catching the light. "That dress is interesting. TJ Maxx having a sale." "Something like that," I murmured, thinking about the private fitting in Paris where it had been made. "You should come shopping with us sometime," Amanda joined in, linking arms with Victoria. "We know this amazing financial advisor who could help you manage your situation. He's a miracle worker with budget cases." My phone buzzed again. A text from my chief risk officer. "Urgent, need approval on loan applications for Bradley Wilson, Victoria Chin, and Amanda Parker. All 3 significantly over-leveraged. Recommend denial." I glanced at my cousins, now gossiping about my sad career choices. Victoria's husband had just leased her another Ferrari, while Amanda was planning to buy a vacation home in the Hamptons. All financed through loan applications sitting in my pending folder. Speaking of financial advice, Bradley wandered over, champagne sloshing in his crystal glass. "How's that little bank of yours doing, Eleanor? Still processing mortgage applications in that tiny office?" I thought about my actual office, the entire top floor of a downtown skyscraper, with a view that made Uncle Richard's mansion look like a guest house. "We managed to keep busy. He leaned in conspiratorially, "I'm actually meeting with some bankers next week. Big expansion plans. Could put in a good word for you, help you move up from the kiddie pool to real finance." My phone buzzed a 3rd time. "Ms. Wilson, please advise on Bradley Wilson's loan application A. His current portfolio shows significant discrepancies." "How kind of you," I said, taking a sip of champagne. "Actually, I have some calls to make. Business never sleeps, right?" They laughed as I stepped away, the sound dripping with condescension. I heard Victoria stage whisper, "What business?" "Approving car loans for people like us to buy actual luxury vehicles." I found a quiet corner in Uncle Richard's study, surrounded by his prized collection of financial books, several of which I'd actually written under a pseudonym. Pulling out my phone, I connected to the bank's secure system. The loan applications filled my screen: Bradley's overextended real estate ventures, Victoria's mounting luxury car payments, Amanda's desperate attempt to keep up with vacation home trends. All of them leveraged to the hilt, counting on their family name to guarantee approval. My finger hovered over the decision button just as Amanda's voice carried through the door. "God, it's so sad. Eleanor probably can't even afford the monthly payment on my new Bentley. Should we take up a collection? I smiled and pressed deny on all 3 applications. The next hour unfolded like a perfectly choreographed dance of karma. I returned to the party just as my cousin's phones started buzzing with automated notifications from Wilson Financial Group. Victoria was the first to react. Her perfectly Botoxed face couldn't quite manage a frown as she stared at her screen. "This must be a mistake," she muttered, furiously tapping at her phone. "They denied my loan? Don't they know who I am?" I sipped my champagne quietly, watching Amanda's face turn an interesting shade of pale as she checked her own notification. The vacation home she'd already bragged about buying was slipping through her manicured fingers. "This is ridiculous." Bradley stormed across the room, his designer loafers squeaking on the marble floor. "Some low-level bureaucrat at Wilson Financial just denied my development loan. Don't they understand basic business?" Uncle Richard emerged from his study, his own phone pressed to his ear. "What do you mean, the decision is final?" "I've been banking with Wilson Financial since Margaret Wilson herself ran it." Grandmother Margaret. The woman who'd seen through the family's shallow displays of wealth and recognized in me the same shrewd financial mind she possessed. While they'd fought over her jewelry and vacation homes after her death, I'd inherited her controlling interest in the bank, and her determination to teach the family a lesson about true wealth. "I can't believe this," Amanda whined, collapsing onto a leather sofa. "I already told everyone about my Hamptons house. The interior designer was starting next week." My phone buzzed again. A message from my executive team. "Ms. Wilson, the denied parties are requesting immediate meetings with senior management. Your cousin Bradley Wilson is threatening to take his business elsewhere. Should we arrange meetings?" I typed back, "Let them stew for 48 hours. Then have them meet with our risk assessment team. Full audit of their finances required." Victoria stormed over to where I stood, her Louboutins clicking aggressively. "Eleanor, you work at a bank. Can't you do something about this? Talk to someone." "A small regional bank," Bradley sneered, joining us. "Probably doesn't even have the connections to help." I checked my watch, a subtle Patek Philippe that cost more than Bradley's last 3 mortgages combined. I might know someone who could review the applications. "Really?" Victoria's face lifted. "Can you call them right now?" "Of course." I pulled out my phone, making sure they could all see the screen. The Wilson Financial Group CEO dashboard lit up, displaying their detailed financial records. "What is that?" Amanda peered over my shoulder. "Why do you have access to?" "Interesting," I mused, scrolling through Bradley's file. 3 properties in default, 2 shell companies with negative equity, and a pattern of misrepresenting assets on loan applications. "Victoria, your file shows 17 maxed-out credit cards and 3 overdue luxury car payments." And Amanda, attempting to secure a mortgage while already in debt restructuring? That's quite ambitious. The color drained from their faces as understanding slowly dawned. "You," Bradley stammered. "That's confidential information. Unless I'm not just a low-level employee at a small regional bank?" I smiled, finally allowing my carefully maintained facade to crack. "Would this be a good time to mention that I'm the majority owner and CEO of Wilson Financial Group?" The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Victoria's champagne glass shattering on the marble floor. "That's impossible," Uncle Richard pushed through the gathering crowd of stunned relatives. "Margaret left the bank too. To someone who understood the value of money beyond buying status symbols?" I finished for him. "Someone who spent 5 years working every department of the bank while you all mocked my entry-level job? Someone who quadrupled the bank's assets while you were busy comparing car prices." My phone buzzed yet again, another acquisition alert. I turned the screen so they could see the headlines. "Wilson Financial Group acquires Pacific Rim Banking Consortium. Eleanor Wilson expands global empire." Now then, I smiled at my shell-shocked cousins. About those loan applications. The next few moments in Uncle Richard's mansion felt like a slow-motion scene from a movie. My cousins stood frozen, their perfectly curated worlds crumbling as they processed the revelation. The background chatter of the family reunion had died completely, leaving only the soft gurgle of the champagne fountain. 500 billion in assets, I continued casually, pulling up our latest financial reports on my phone. That small regional bank now owns controlling interests in 23 financial institutions across 4 continents. Would you like to guess how many of your loan applications cross my desk? Bradley found his voice first, his real estate swagger replaced by desperate calculation. Eleanor, cousin, surely we can discuss this. My developments have always been solid investments. Have they? I pulled up his complete financial history. Like the luxury condos you built with substandard materials? Or the office complex that's currently 80% vacant? The risk assessment team has quite a detailed file on your creative accounting. Victoria stepped forward, her Louboutins unsteady. But we're family. You can't just. Family. I raised an eyebrow. Like when you told the country club I was your unfortunate cousin who works as a bank teller? Or when you suggested taking up a collection to help me buy a real car? Amanda, still clutching her phone with the loan denial, whispered, "The Wilson Financial Group. That's why it was renamed 5 years ago. After grandmother." After grandmother Margaret recognized that real financial acumen doesn't come from shopping sprees and status symbols? I nodded. She spent her last years teaching me everything she knew while you all fought over her jewelry collection. Remember that worthless antique ledger you dismissed in the will reading? It contained controlling shares in the bank. Uncle Richard's face had turned an alarming shade of red. This is outrageous. The board won't stand for. The board. I laughed softly. Would that be the same board that just approved our expansion into European markets? Or perhaps you'd like to speak with our shareholders about the 300% return on investment since I took control. My phone buzzed with another update. Ms. Wilson, your cousin's financial advisors are requesting emergency meetings. Their credit lines have been frozen pending full audit. You see, I continued, walking slowly around the stunned group, banking isn't about fancy cars or marble mansions. It's about understanding money, real money, not the illusion of wealth you've all been maintaining with credit and loans. Speaking of which, I pulled up their complete financial records on my phone, projecting them onto Uncle Richard's prized 98-inch TV screen. Gasps filled the room as their true financial situations were displayed in high-definition glory. Bradley's real estate empire? Leveraged at 95%. Victoria's luxury car collection? Financed entirely through high-interest loans. Amanda's Hampton's dreams? Built on a house of credit cards that's about to collapse. Shall I continue? You wouldn't destroy your own family, Uncle Richard growled, but his voice wavered. Destroy? Oh no, I'm going to do something much worse. I smiled, channeling Grandmother Margaret's famous boardroom expression. I'm going to teach you all about real financial responsibility. Starting now. I pressed a button on my phone, and their updated credit reports appeared on screen. Your existing loans will be restructured with my personal oversight. Your assets will be independently audited. And your future credit applications, I paused for effect, will require my direct approval. Victoria sank into a nearby chair, her designer dress crumpling. But my lifestyle will need significant adjustment, I finished. Don't worry, our bank offers excellent financial literacy courses. In fact, I think I'll make them mandatory for family members seeking future loans. Bradley, desperate now, tried another approach. The media would love to hear about this, how you're persecuting your own family. You mean the same media that named me Financial Innovation Leader of the Year? I pulled up the recent Forbes cover featuring my profile. Or perhaps the Wall Street Journal would be interested in your creative accounting methods. My phone buzzed one final time. Emergency board meeting called by Richard Wilson, requesting to contest your control of the bank. I laughed softly. Uncle Richard, before you waste the board's time, you might want to check grandmother's old ledger. The one you called outdated nonsense. Page 147 details exactly how she structured the ownership transfer. Your lawyers can confirm, it's ironclad. The reunion had devolved into chaos. Relatives frantically checked their banking apps, discovering their true financial positions for the first time. The carefully maintained facade of wealth and status was cracking, revealing the mountain of debt beneath. Now then, I said, picking up my car keys, I have a board meeting to attend. Your new financial advisors will be in touch. I've assigned each of you a personal wealth management team. Consider it a family service. I walked toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and about my old car? I keep it to remind myself of an important lesson grandmother taught me. True wealth doesn't need to show off. It's what you don't see that matters.